Hi, I'm Madison Mayfield, and this is my technology project number one for United States History 2. So, for my project, I decided to interview homesteaders, and it's actually going to be a married couple. So, this couple has moved from Philadelphia, a big city, just to get away from the big city life with overpopulation, crowdedness, disease, um, and the skyrocketing living costs. Uh, as well, just to get on some spacious land due to the Homestead Act, which offered them the 160 acres to live on. If you live there for 5 years, tended to land, you wouldn't have to pay a single dime. So that's kind of the backstory for that. So let's begin. Good morning, America. I'm here today reporting live with the Early American News. Today I'm interviewing a husband and wife new to the homestead of the Great Plains. So, Mr. Johnson, how's it been adjusting to the climate of the Great Plains? Yes, so the plains are very dry and not as humid as the East Coast that we're used to. We often experience a lot of windstorms that can also become very harsh at times. We have also experienced one fire since we've been here due to the dry land and high winds. And let me tell you, that was a hard one to put out because our closest stream is only miles away. I see. I have also noticed the land is very vast, with little trees. How have you built shelter to protect yourselves from the climate? We have built our home out of sod. Wood is very scarce, as you mentioned before, due to the lack of trees. The sod is like clay, and we have to work very fast when using it, as it usually dries within the day. The sod has kept us very warm throughout the winter, as well as allowed us to live in a fireproof home, as it is made out of soil. The only problem with having a sod home is that it is not waterproof and tends to absorb a lot of water during the rainy months, if we're lucky to even have them. So with this, we have to be careful as the roof could collapse in on us. What does the typical workday look like on the farm as a married couple? As head of the household, I take on most of the hard labor, such as maintaining the crops and cattle in excruciating heat during the summer. Hopefully, I can have a helping hand in the future through the birth of a son, or two, maybe three if we're lucky. But as for my wife, Miss Johnson, she maintains all orders of duty that involve keeping the house spotless clean and making food to put on the table after hard days of work. What has been one of the biggest problems moving westward into the plains? The biggest problem we have faced is the insect infestation, with grasshoppers and locusts swarming. Many of the insects can ruin crops overnight if we aren't careful. We usually have to set fires to ward them off, but as I mentioned, those are hard to maintain and keep in control because our nearest stream is miles away. What brought you to the Great Plains anyways, and where did you move from? As you know, the cities have becoming overly crowded and land prices have skyrocketed, especially in Philadelphia, where I used to live with Annabelle's parents. As you know, the Homestead Act has recently come into play as well, which allowed us to move onto 160 acres of spacious land without any neighbors in sight. All we have to do is live here for 5 years, tend the land, and we won't have to pay a single dime. Sounds pretty good to me. Would you ever want to move back to Philly, do you think? Speaking for both me and my wife, Annabelle, I think we can both agree that the Great Plains has offered us a better life than the big city ever could. The streets were infested with rats and awful smelling sewer, as well as the extreme amount of disease spreading quickly amongst the citizens. We hope to allow Annabelle's parents to eventually move out to the west with us, so they can escape the disease and filth as well. We're hoping eventually one day once we're stable and on our feet for good. What types of crops have you found easiest to grow in the Great Plains soil, as I've heard it's pretty rough out here? As you know, the soil out here isn't the best, and it allows us to have to be very selective with what we grow. The crops that have seemed to be working the best recently is corn and wheat. The climate for rain varies each year, which is why we need crops that can withstand dry and wet years. Our crops are also what feeds our cattle, so we must work hard to maintain healthy crops. No crops, no cattle, no way of life out here. The seed drill has allowed for us just to do that. The drill allows for the seeds to be planted deeper, creating them to grow better, or allowing them to grow better. Another invention that has helped with our crops is the steel-tipped plow. This plow allows for the soil to be turned faster, so we can get more work done within the day's light. The only thing I would like to see soon to help with our crops is a well. This will save us from walking and traveling several miles every morning to collect water, and would allow me to tend to my crops more than just traveling to get water. And for our final question, what modern advancements have made the homestead life more tolerable? Recently, the West has been introduced to railroads, and this has made everyday life in general better. The production of railroads has created a sense of community and makes it seem that we aren't several miles away from our neighbors or cities. We've also noticed a lot of new people on the homestead, which is allowing a boost in our economy, as they've wanted to been open up stores, as well as pharmacies, which is good for when me or Annabelle gets sick. As well, Annabelle has enjoyed the railroad trains, as she does miss her parents a lot and wants to visit them very often. Well, Mr. and Miss Johnson, I'd like to thank you for your time and allowing our early American news viewers to get an inside glimpse of the homestead life. Once again, thank you and best of luck fighting off those insects.